Hey guys, what's going on? Kid1 here. How you guys doing today? Now, today we are looking at the iPhone 15 Pro and Pro Max, specifically the Pro Max. Now, the reason for that is because Apple just actually recently introduced us to the iPhone 15 lineup. You got the 15, 15 Plus, 15 Pro, and 15 Pro Max. Now, these guys are absolutely amazing, and I gotta say that I actually pre-ordered a 15 Pro Max, which is awesome. So, I ordered it on... When did I order it? Let me find out real quick. I placed the order on September 15th, which was literally 3 days after. 3 days after the fact of me actually ordering it, and it's going to be arriving from October 16th to October 23rd. But let's get into the details real quick.
2,000 years later.
So here's my issue. How were they able to actually put together aluminum to grade 5 titanium? Well, they go through a process of a type of adherence between the aluminum and the titanium, and they smush them together. So the iPhone 15 Pro Max is the only triple camera system which the main camera actually has a tetraprism design, which is actually a series of mirrors in which allows the photo to come in, bounce off a mirror, then bounce off, right into the sensor. So, let's talk about the specs. iPhone 15 Pro Max starts at $1199. And you gotta wonder, why is it $1199? But if you look at the two different storage combinations, you'll realize that the Pro Max and the Pro starts at 128 gigs, while the Pro Max actually starts at 256. Now, there's a reason for this. They decided to make the Pro Max 256 for $100 more. And here's the thing. I don't mind that, because you're getting extra storage for only $100 more. Some people have problems with this, but I don't, because I'm getting more bang for my buck. So it has a 6.7-inch Super Retina XDR ProMotion always on display. Let me tell you something. My 12 Pro Max does not have ProMotion. It has a display where it varies the refresh rate, but it does not have ProMotion. And it does not have always on display. Now, this is something that I have a little itty-bitty problem with. If you think about the Apple Watch, which I currently don't have on right now because I'm currently updating to watchOS 10, which is actually available now, and so is iOS 17. So, when it comes to a watch, no big deal, because it's a small form factor, it's not that much of a big of a screen, and you're not really wasting that much energy. But when it comes to a phone, you're wasting more energy than you think, because always on display. Think of your 12 Pro Max like I have here, and you actually have the display always on. Well, there's issues with that, because since the display is always on, you're gonna realize that the display is always on until you actually raise it up and touch it. That's when the display will actually be on. But I just think that it's going to waste more battery than we realize, and hopefully they will actually enable iPhone 15 Pro Max users to switch that feature off, because I think of it as just not being a good way of actually doing that. But with iOS 17, they actually have something called Standby, which I think is a really good way of putting things. And on my, yeah, it's called standby. It will allow you, when standby is turned on and the iPhone is placed on the charger and it's in landscape orientation instead of portrait, it will show information like widgets, photo frames, or clocks and alarm clocks, which I think is really actually pretty cool.
Nice.
But enough of that. Let's get into the resolution. Now, the 15 Pro Max rocks a resolution of 2796 by 1290 at 460 pixels per inch, or PPI. Pretty much the same as 12 Pro Max. It has True Tone, biometrics, Face ID, as always, but instead of the notch, it has the dynamic island, which I'm actually starting to actually like even before I get the phone. So, connectivity, you're looking at 5G, regular 5G, Gigabit class LTE, and Wi-Fi 6E, Bluetooth 5.3, Ultra Wideband Gen 2, and then they're continuing from last year's iPhone with emergency SOS via satellite and roadside assistance via satellite. Next thing up is rear cameras. You got a 48 main megapixel wide camera, 12 megapixel ultra wide camera, and a 12 megapixel telephoto with 5x optical zoom. That's pretty cool. Video, I don't really take video that much, but often the more that I'm going to be vlogging, I might actually do vlogging again. Battery size for video playback is up to 29 hours, and the colors are both the same for the 12 Pro and Pro Max. Not the 12 Pro, I'm talking about the 15 Pro and Pro Max. And that's black titanium, white titanium, blue titanium, and natural titanium, which is just the natural color of the metal after the process. So here's what's interesting. Now, since this new phone is coming out, let's talk about the display real quick. So you got Super Retina XDR, which is actually an OLED screen, which I actually like, because it pops, like everything pops against the background, which is actually cool. With the features 2,000,000:1 contrast ratio, which is usually typical. So, as well as typical maximum of 100 nits of brightness, peak brightness at 1600 nits for HDR content, and up to outdoor, when you're literally outdoors and it's sunny, you can get peak brightness of 2000 nits, which I think is probably the brightest that I ever heard. Permission support up to 120 Hertz, the dynamic island at the top, wide color P3 support, True Tone HDR, and a figure resistant iliophobic coating are also included as standard. Okay then. Cameras, I'm not really going to talk about them that much, because I don't really take that many photos, but I might actually get into the vlogging side of things for once during like my off time or anything like that. Processing performance of the A17 Pro Apple chip. Now this chip contains a 6-core CPU with 2 performance and 4 efficiency cores, and it benefits a micro architectural design improvements to be 10% faster than the A16 Bionic. The GPU is a 6-core version, now has 50% more memory bandwidth and is 20% faster. It also boasts hardware accelerated ray tracing, which is new. And that actually improves the gaming, like if you're a major phone gamer. The 16-core Nora engine is 2 times faster. Meanwhile, the inclusion of a dedicated AV1 decoder will improve the efficiency of streaming video. Now that will actually be nice. Now, like I said before, the iPhone Pro series actually has a USB controller built into the top right of the chip, and that will allow it to handle USB 3 speeds. Power and battery, so recharging, you can handle it from USB-C or wirelessly by MagSafe. I'm using MagSafe, so because you can actually get 15 watts. Fast charging is possible over USB-C with a 50% charge possible in about 30 minutes using a 20-watt brick or greater power source. Other features, it has IPCCA rating like always. So here's something that's new that I've never saw before. This was actually with the iPhone 14, I believe. I'm only guessing. So what they did this year is actually, instead of using a physical SIM card, they're using eSIMs. Which is, I'm thinking, okay, well, how is that even possible? Because the SIM card holds the details of your cell service provider, mine is Verizon, your cell number, and everything else. But there's a problem with that, because since there's no SIM card, they don't know how to exactly what to put exactly in that old space. But if you were to look at my phone, right here would be an actual SIM card tray. Now that tray is gone. It's kaput. But it's just like, well, damn. But it also adds a benefit. It reduces another point where dust, water, and dirt would be able to actually get into it. And a lot of people are actually arguing, oh, which iPhone 15 should I buy? Well, personally, it's up to you. I don't force my opinion onto people. I just give them suggestions. So for me personally, I like big phones. And I like the pro side of things, because when it comes to technology, I'm not a tech nerd. It's just who I am. So the iPhones are currently in pre-order right now. They will be available on Friday, September 22nd, which is literally a couple days away on Friday. And literally will be available at wireless carriers at AT&T, Verizon, and Xfinity, not to mention Sprint. Now let's talk about Apple 2030. Now, stick with me real quick. So, there's a potential problem, because what they're planning to use is container ships for shipping instead of planes. There's an issue with that, because if I look up real quick how more pollutant is jet fuel than diesel fuel, which usually is the go-to for container ships, here's the carbon footprint and the type of fuel. Regular gasoline has 19.59 pounds of CO2 per gallon. Not bad. Also, not good. Ethanol, a little bit less than that, at 18.92 pounds of CO2 per gallon. Aviation, for aviation gas, or like for a C-172 Skyhawk, it would be 18.3 pounds of CO2 per gallon. Jet fuel, 21.1 pounds of CO2 per gallon. But diesel, 22.44 pounds of CO2 per gallon. Now, here's the thing. Apple is designed to ship out their products via cargo ships. But here's the thing. From their main production facility in China to LA, which is the closest port of the US, it would take 2 months of travel time between China and LA. I mean, that's a big gap compared to aviation travel of jets. Like, let's say a 777 carrying multiple payloads, multiple big containers of boxes containing iPhones. Like, you're avoiding a lot of problems. Turbulence, weather, stuff like that. And it doesn't take that much. And it only takes barely 15 hours. I mean, think about that. because since I have enough experience of Microsoft Flight Simulator, it's going to be easy for me. So, as a aviator on MSFS 2020, from LA or LAX to KPHL, that's only 4 hours of flight. In a C700, which is a Cessna Citation Longitude, it takes 4 hours of flight. Now compare that to truck driving. Go ahead. I'll let you guys look it up. From flights to driving or boating, flight takes a lot shorter time than anything else. But it's really all about trying to use less carbon emissions to make a carbon footprint of zero nav for their facilities. They're starting all these new incentives to actually reduce the carbon footprint of the world, of reducing production processes for greener processes. Understandable. But transportation, kind of reading along the lines. And not to mention the packaging. They're also talking about packaging. So packaging, transportation, process of the actual phone itself, and delivery. So the packaging, that's why we've been seeing the iPhone boxes get smaller and smaller and smaller, because they're trying to reduce the amount of boxes to make in a smaller form, which I don't have any problem with that. It makes me actually a lot happier with that. And that's my fair share. But if you guys have any comments, questions, suggestions about any of this, let me know down in the description below. But what is interesting is the fact that the way you set up a phone for the first time, that's when that eSIM with your number, your plan, and everything would actually activate through setup when you get your iPhone 15. Pro Max, doesn't matter, since there's no SIM card tray. So, but anyway guys, that's pretty much my whole spiel on everything. If you guys have enjoyed this video and you find it informative, I'm going to do some editing and see where my video actually looks up. But anyway guys, thank you so much for watching my video. If you enjoyed it, hit that like button, don't forget to subscribe, hit that notification bell for more content like this. And as always guys, my name is KidBlaze1, and have a happy Monday. But anyway guys, see you guys later. Peace. Later YouTube. Bye.